We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today. Good evening and welcome to nufc Matters, the three amigos, the perfect way to kickstart your Newcastle United weekend. Welcome to Mitch, Steve and George. Good evening, lads.
Hello, everybody.
And welcome to everybody in the chat, moderators and everybody in there as well. I've just seen somebody saying they don't like the new format of YouTube. Yeah, mine changed a while back, but it's gone back to the way it was. So maybe it's just your operating system. I think it's Gary who's talking about it. But yeah, if you've got a problem with your if you problem with your YouTube, just either refresh your browser or switch your computer off, switch it on, or just give it a knock on the top with your fist. That's how you fix things, isn't it? Yeah, don't do that. Otherwise, and then blame me when you break your computer. Probably not a good idea. But plenty to talk about. Been a positive week, and that's what we're going to probably spend the first hour talking about. Because first of all, Mitch, Joelinton signed a new contract. Despite certain journalists, and I've noticed somebody already in the chat picking out Craig Hope. Geordie Boy says we should call him out. We'll leave that to other people. We don't get into slanging matches with people on here. But he says it wasn't long ago he tweeted and put an article out saying that Joelinton was to be sold. So eager to stir the pot and claims to be a fan. Look, Craig's doing his job. He's broken some really big stories in recent years. Let's just say that we can all be wrong. Never mind Craig Hope. I think everybody can be wrong at some times. And if he's gone big on something like that, and then Joelinton signs a contract, it's going to bite him on the backside. But we're not going to concentrate on the negatives. We'll concentrate on the positives, Mitch. It's great news, Joelinton signing a new contract. And we never thought we'd be celebrating that, I guess, a couple of years ago.
No, and the transformation of the man as a player, and I know Eddie Tao talked about it in the press conference today, about the mental fortitude he's shown going through that transformation from overpaid striker who couldn't hit the back of the net for love nor money to midfield enforcer who were desperate to get back in the team. And even if you look at pictures of the guy that arrived versus the guy that we've got now, physically he's a different specimen. And that comes from the hard work he's put in. It was also discussed in the press conference about what a nice guy he is, and nobody has a bad word to say about him. And increasingly, that's the feedback we got from in and around the club. I mean, I know for us it was. I know somebody asked me on Twitter about, well, Mitchell was saying 2-3 weeks ago, don't worry, it's going to happen. why are journalists saying otherwise? Because journalists have their sources, but they also have a journalistic reputation to stick with. It's not often they go big on something, and when they go big on something, it's usually because they feel that they've been told something from a very credible source that they want to run with. I'm a gobshite in Dubai, and I can flap my chops on here as much as I like, and there's not a lot to lose there, really. And that, you know, from Craig's perspective, because I like Craig a lot and I get on very well with him, I have to say, maybe he's had a tip of the wing long ago that it was an Ashworth's agenda to let Joelinton go. There certainly seemed to be a disconnect while Ashworth was still in place between what the manager wanted and what Ashworth wanted. And I don't think there was just, I found it very telling that as soon as Ashworth was out of on gardening leave, one of the things that the owners did was to take over the discussions and bring that forward, if you will. So I think that says more of the dynamic of what was going on behind the scenes, and again, something we were reasonably well aware of. And many people in the room, the club were well aware of that. There was a definite, I think, disconnect's a polite word to use. And so Joelinton's earned this. And it's not often you can say this in football. We've seen the progression. We've seen his metamorphosis. We've seen him earn that contract, earn a place in the Brazil squad, earn to earn the right to go into contract talks and pretty much get what he wants out of it. There was never in England from anybody that, you know, certainly I spoke to about it, that Joelinton wanted to leave, but it's also within every footballer's prerogative to hold out for a contract that they feel they deserve and they want. And particularly at the stage of his career, he's 28. This contract's going to take him to 32, which is what you would consider the twilight of his career. This is probably his last moneymaker. And so, of course, he's right to hold out for what he feels he's worth. Yes, footballers are super well paid these days, and it's a high pay industry. But it's still a career. When you see Stuart Dallas at Leeds announcing his retirement this week, you know, proper Circle club guy who's been down the divisions, up the divisions, and in one moment, one horrible tackle at Man City 2 years ago, his career's gone, and he's finally admitted, "I ain't coming back from this." And so, in a situation like that, every player has a right to say, "I want to hold out football. I want to get the best deal I can." Now, the statement this sends, not just to potential players coming in over the summer, but the other players who are here, is this is what we're building. We're not a selling club, we're a building club. And I think that's significant when you come to have a discussion with Bruno in particular, his mate. I love his Bruno's translated comments on Instagram, which always seem to end with "you bastard." But it shows that kind of camaraderie between the Brazilians there. And who knows, if another Brazilian was to come in, what a wonderful call in the club. But when was the last time you could genuinely say we've got two nailed in members of the Brazilian national squad in our squad? And Joelinton deserves every bit of it, and everybody, to a man, woman, and child, seems to be delighted about it. And yeah, he outlasted the cabbage. He outlasted all the negativity that he went through. and he deserves absolutely everything he gets.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, Steve, the press conference when they were talking about Joelinton signing the contract, about his family. You know, they mentioned that one of the journalists mentioned how happy his family looked and that his son had said that he'd wanted to stay in Newcastle forever. Somebody's just made reference to it in the chat. And Joelinton said he'd like to move back to Brazil at some point, but he did his interview, didn't he, with the club? And I thought it was great. It was great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows you that they really have, the family really have taken to the Northeast. He's been here 4 years, hasn't he? 3 years, because he's fourth. And I think once somebody gets the Northeast into their blood, then they tend to stay for life, don't they? You know, and he's certainly embraced living in the Northeast, and his family obviously feels settled here. He's enjoying his football. He's got a great friendship with Bruno and his family. All that positivity that he's gained, while at the same time sitting on a contract that he originally signed, while other people have come in and then been given extended contracts or new contracts. And let's face it, he's coming up with a year to go, and he was sitting there going, you know what, now is the time I need to make the discussion. He knows his value. He knows his worth. The club knew his worth. And as Mitch said, the dynamic in terms of a problem seemed to be further up the line. Whether or not that was something to do with the dynamic between the director of football, stroke sporting director, and the manager, who knows? Whether it was agents and personalities, who knows? The most important thing for us is that something's been resolved. We don't even need to worry about the manner in which it's resolved. Just the very fact that we now have Joelinton signed up for another 4 years, the enthusiasm that he brings, hopefully rubs off on Bruno as well. And having listened to Bruno's agent just today talking and saying, don't believe everything that you read in the newspapers, I think there's a lot of positivity buzzing around the Brazilian duo at the moment. And what I would say as well is that if you look at it all in the round, the bigger picture comes, and a lot of the discussion probably came from the interview that Darren Eales gave, where he started talking about selling players just at the point where, you know, Joelinton's in discussion about wanting to stay and wanting a new contract, and yet all of a sudden the whole furore. And that's where, let's face it, if there is going to be anything pointed at the likes of Craig Hope and other guys in the press, it's because they've picked up from there, and they've had briefings and they've been told, well, you know, everybody's available, everyone's got a price, this type of thing. And then the whole whispering saga starts. And I think, you know, that's what reporters do. They have to pick up on the news, don't they? They have to pick up on their sources and what they run with. But as Mitch says, that there was a positivity from our quarter. There was a massive positivity on the professional show from Stu and Mitch right from the start, that showed that their confidence from their sources that there would be a positive outcome, and guys have been proved right. So well done.
George, it's great when a player signs a contract, especially somebody as important as Joelinton. We've missed him, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I could never have imagined 2 years ago that I could sit here and say Newcastle United missed Joelinton. If my poor Margie was sitting here, she would tell you a different story, because I used to come home from St James's Park after the match on a Saturday. In the first half hour getting in the door, I was slagging off Joelinton. And even my Margie, in her poor state of health, used to say, you don't like that lad, do you? And the truth to tell, I couldn't see a footballer in there. Paid all this money for a centre forward who couldn't trap a bag of cement when he came, or couldn't appear to. And then suddenly, it may have been a freak, whatever it was, but Eddie Howe seen it, and he's turned a less than useful centre forward to one of the best midfielders in the Premiership. And I don't mind saying that. And I give him my heartiest apologies for really thinking what I did when he first came, because that's a different man. And Neil's absolutely right. Physically, what a physique he's got now, and what a stature. And that's all about him. Neil's absolutely right. The other thing about him is that while Bruce was there was all sorts of stories about he wouldn't bother to learn English and all this sort of stuff. Well, you know, that just patently isn't true. They're more than getting by with their English now, and what the family's talking like, they're talking like proper Geordies. Never mind English. No, that's all lovely stuff. That's all very positive, and I'm glad we're speaking about it. It cannot be, as the lads have said, it cannot be more than a coincidence that when Ashworth was here, all of the stories about them going, about the negativity and not liking what was this and not liking what was that, were all around. And within less than 10 days of him going and Amanda Staveley stepping in, the contract was nearly done and dusted. Done and dusted. I mean, that can't be, that cannot be just a coincidence. That's got to be, you know, such a turnaround. It's got to be about personalities. It cannot be anything else. And Amanda Staveley deserves every credit for that sort of thing. Because, and again, the lads are right. Any players looking in and see all of that happening will think, well, I wouldn't mind being part of that. I wouldn't mind being part of that. And yeah, you know, it's just absolutely great. But I've got to say, she'd said 2.5 years ago that this was where we're going to be with Joelinton. I wouldn't have believed you. I couldn't have believed you because it was awful. In fact, it was worse than awful sometimes. I used to wonder why they bothered to wash his strippy, because he didn't do any work. But never mind. Proving people wrong is fantastic, and I'm delighted to be proved wrong about that young man. And anybody who's any doubts about how he's grown, don't need to take the binoculars. When they walk around the pitch, they've all got their shirts off. Have a look at the man mountain that Joelinton is. He's got a 12-pack, never mind a 6-pack, and that's his hard work. That's not an accident, and he deserves the reward for that. The other thing I was going to say was, I'm sitting here with the 3 amigos around me, and every now and again they say, well, we thought we might get this right. God, lads, I wish I had a penny for every time you a lot have been right and other buggers have been wrong. I tell you, it's very positive sitting here listening to you. So, yeah, bring it on. Let's have some more negotiations like that. I'm reminded, of course, with Amanda's about the golf thing, the golf, the live golf, how they were going to sort things out, and that show this woman what was what. Well, the woman showed them what was what, and she sorted it in something in 2 weeks that they couldn't sort in 2 years. So yeah, well done, Amanda. Well done, Joelinton, for signing. Lovely to have a Joelinton Geordies in the area. That's fantastic as well. Because again, imagine new players coming in with kids, with family, and the kids mixing like they do at the club. You can see the mix. That's got to be positive. Got to be positive for the club. So well done, everybody, and great to see Joe signing on. And my God, have we missed him? No doubt about it. Have we missed him?
Interesting line as well, Mitch, from Bruno's agent, who basically threw down the gauntlet today and more or less said his player's happy and he's not going anywhere, which follows quite quickly on the footsteps of Bruno being interviewed on national TV on more than one occasion on the live games that we've been on, saying that he's happy and he's going nowhere. But yeah, it was interesting to see his agent come out and say what he had to say.
And his agent also playing a little bit of games on Instagram, posting pictures of the L'Arc de Triomphe, and because he actually happened to be in Paris. And so I think that's a sign of an agent working on behalf of his player to just be mischievous. And I think all roads seem to lead to that. It's going to take something, and this was the whole point of inserting the clause into the contract. It's going to take something crazy to prize him away.
Yeah.
and it would be something crazy that would be ridiculously beneficial in another way. But obviously, I don't think there's a team out there at the minute could do that. Not one, from a sustainability rules point of view, depending on however you want to look at them. My understanding is the clause is upward of 100 million and it's all in one payment up front. I don't think there's anybody in world football can do that right now. Not a single team. And if that's the case, yes, it's a release clause, but it's one that would make the final few years of the sustainability rules as they are exceptionally easy for Newcastle United. And as horrible as it would be from a playing point of view, we have to be correctly compensated for losing one of the jewels in the crown. And I think that's only right and proper. Gone are the days when a club come along and would go to one of our chairmen and wave a bag of cash, and you wouldn't see him for dust. They'd be off out on a plane or over the M62 in a hurry, because that was how we were. We always knew that this is my experience of growing up following Newcastle United, that when we got good players, when England came calling, bye. Be nice to know you. And that was how the club was run. We're in a position now where those days are well behind us, hamstrung by a bizarre set of rules that are now going to be rescinded because in that desperation to tie us down, they've put everybody in a cat's cradle and nothing can happen. And so there has to be change. The only way that Bruno is going is in a way that will benefit Newcastle United immeasurably. And you could chuck any big name in European football at me at the moment, and I bet I could put a reasonable case up that they do not have the money or the wiggle room in their wages bill to do so. And therefore, we're consolidating the squad that we should have a core of, that we should be adding to and building around. And Bruno and Joelinton are very much two of those.
Yeah, interesting stuff that, wasn't it, today, Steve, from Bruno's agent. But I'm confident Bruno will stay this summer. I don't think Newcastle will dare, sell him on certainly this window. I think they'll want next season to really get the best out of him. I don't think that we're immune to selling big players, and I don't think we would knock back a ridiculous price for Bruno in the future. But I just have a feeling, especially after this season, if we do sneak into Europe and finish 6th, 7th, or if 8th gives you that place and we get into Europe, I think Bruno will want to stay. But I also think Newcastle will want to keep him at least next year.
I agree wholeheartedly. What I don't agree with is the bit that said about the unless a big bid comes in, Newcastle shouldn't be in that situation. And as Newcastle fans, we shouldn't even be contemplating that. We shouldn't be being entertained by the bean counters and worried about. We had all of this during 14 years of Mike Ashley, worried about the accountants and worried about the money. I think that Newcastle fans should be concentrating solely on the players we've got, not being put in a position where we have to worry about whether a player is going to see out the next 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years. For me, Bruno is the best midfielder I think I've ever seen at Newcastle United. What he brings to the team, the performances he puts in. He might not be a prolific goal scorer or anything like that, but in terms of the role that he plays, he is without doubt sitting there as one of probably the top 5 midfielders in the country at the moment. And even to have fans and members of the backroom team in the boardroom contemplating getting rid of somebody like that just sends a shudder down my spine, to be perfectly honest. I cannot think of anything worse. It's a conversation I don't even want to contemplate, never mind an outcome. The whole situation with the bean counters and this, we've become experts in abbreviations, be it FFP, PSR, you name it, they throw it at us. We're all budding Kieran Maguire's now instead of being budding Bruno's. Even youngsters are talking about FFP instead of talking about wanting to be, a footballer. It just eats up all the conversations. It does in the pub as well, unfortunately, before and after the match, because we used to talk about the performances that were put in. Now we're talking about, do you think he played that well and he'll not be here next season? This is the way it's been. No, I'm Bruno. I'm in the Bruno camp 110%, and I think, looking at it, we've got another director of football or sporting director to come in. We'll have big name players that will be spotted. We'll have talent from abroad that will be identified and will be brought in to work alongside Bruno to get the best and even more of the best from Bruno and to take the football club forward. That's the thing that's exciting me. The thing that worries me is when the constant conversation is, will he be here next week, next month, next year? Let's stop it now, Steve, please. It's killing us.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, Bruno's contract is up to date, George, and he'll be delighted that Joelinton's staying. I just can't see him leaving this summer, no matter whatever comes in. It's a chance for Newcastle to also make a statement by knocking the deal back.
Well, exactly. They declare they've got a project. How do you start a project when you're talking about selling the two best assets in your club, like Bruno and Joelinton? It would be madness. And as a fan, I'd be absolutely distraught. Steve's absolutely right. I mean, we sit and bill and coo about Bruno when we're watching him on St. James's Park at the match when we sit together. Sometimes the people around her wonder what the hell we're talking about. And that's because they haven't played football. They haven't seen close up what the guy's capable of. I've never seen a midfield player who's happy to receive the ball anytime. Didn't matter how many people are around him, he'll shout for the ball, he'll take it. And with the two shakes of his hips, he's gone and he's left 4 or 5 defenders sitting on the backside. You can't buy players like that. It would be absolute madness to think that you could build a European Cup winning team, because that's what we want, nothing less, without somebody like Bruno sitting in the middle of it all. And if his mate gets back, Joelinton's gets back, and we do some reasonable, clever spending in the summer to take the bit of the weight off him, what a play he could become. Because the odd goals he's getting now, if he was just another 10 yards further forward, he could probably turn that into 10, 12, 15 goals, like some of our midfielders used to, like Peter Beardsley used to. Peter used to do it all. And I can see that coming with Bruno, if they just build the squad in a way in which lets him play his game entirely and lets him do more positive stuff, instead of being stuck in front of the back three and digging out all the time. No, I can't see him going this summer. I can't see him going the summer after, because I have a feeling we'll be knocking on the door of Europe again, and he'll not want to go then. But the bigger thing is what we've already talked about it. It's quite clear that not just him, but his family, his kids, love being on Tyneside. And, you don't care what kind of job you've got, if you're happy where you're working, by God, that's a good place to be. And it's sometimes worth a lot of money as well. But I know I agree with the lads. It really would be madness to see Bruno even contemplating them contemplating selling Bruno. The only thing that would make him go is if he had the desire to go, and I don't see that coming from him either. They're all so positive at the moment and want to be where they are. The kids are happy, the family's happy, and everything about it is very, very positive. Even the pictures when his wife had a baby were absolutely brilliant. I hear people that I know saying, "Wasn't that lovely?" I've other people saying they were a bit near the knuckle because the lady was breastfeeding her baby. Oh, sod that! It was absolutely wonderful. So that all builds in this feeling, and it's the feeling that's back in the team now. That's the good thing for me, because I was starting to worry that we'd lost all that. Well, the last few games, even though we haven't been at our best, the one thing that has been there is the energy to fight for each other, to work for each other. That's come back. So, and he's a good bit of that, and it's magic. It's just magic. And if they even contemplated selling Bruno this summer, I would be absolutely devastated.
Can I just say, Steve, I think Kev Miles said, do I think that Man United wanted to sell Beckham and Ronaldo? I think Alex Ferguson wanted Beckham out of the way because of the baggage that he brought, Spice Girl package that came with him. I think that Alex saw that as a distraction, and I think that's why Beckham moved on. And I think people wanted Ronaldo out of Man United at the time to go to Real Madrid, and look where his career took him after that. So two probably slightly different scenarios, but in both instances, I think the players drove it, and I certainly think Ferguson drove the Beckham one, as I say.
And can you remember the pictures of either Beckham or Ronaldo with their kids at school and around the Manchester area and all that sort of thing? Never happened. Not like the Brunos and Joelinton's kids. It's a different scenario altogether. But it was driven by, absolutely right, Steve, by the players and their needs. But Alex Ferguson, absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and Ferguson was Man United. Let's not forget.
Absolutely. And do you think it was an accident? He threw the boot and hit Beckham on the head. I really don't think it was. It was his frustration. I don't think he intended to hurt him. But the throwing of the boot was his frustration coming out because he wasn't in charge of that situation. The Spice Girls were.
I think you're right, and in both instances, both players were becoming bigger than Alex Ferguson.
Yes,
nobody Man United was allowed to become bigger than Alex Ferguson.
Yeah,
and I think it's still there's still a little bit of that when it comes to the managers at Man United. I think
absolutely with him sitting in the stand behind them. You've got this legend sitting on your shoulders. And you'll find, well, after the match, if things haven't gone well, guess who the directors are going to go and talk to? They're not going to talk to Ten Hag. They're going to talk to Alex Ferguson.
Yeah. Big thanks to Paul Mann for the donation. He says the two next season will have a great midfield. Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. As with Tonali especially coming back, I am excited to see, how they get them all playing together. But fingers crossed we have a lot less injuries. I've stuck the link in for the auction, lads and lasses, and only got 2 hours to go. But in that signed auction, where you click the link, there are various items: Rob Lee, Peter Beardsley, Kevin Keegan, Pavel Cernacek, a couple of Alan Shearers, Super Mac, John Beresford, Chris Waddle, Les Ferdinand, Ryan Taylor, Nobby Solano, Steve Watson, Mickey Quinn, Nobby Solano. Get yourself on there. 2 hours to go. Some real bargains to be had. And that is our fifth auction that we've done. But get yourself on there. The link is in the chat if you want to take part. Okay, as always, on a Friday, we have a lot to get through. And here are your tweets of the week. First of all, a huge shout out to those that danced near the speakers in the 90s.
What? What?
This guy went to the chemist earlier to see if they had any face masks. They said that they were sold out, so they said he should try boots. He's been in A&E for 40 minutes. He knows the doctors, and you can hear they're laughing. Yes, very good, that mate. Thank you for that. And I think we've all experienced this in some way, shape, or form. Me trying to avoid eye contact with the crackhead at Biker metro station. Had to look at that twice. I thought it was a hasty lookalike. Here's a one. Man who identifies as a 6-year-old girl smashes egg and spoon race record. A former nightclub doorman, now known as Cindy's, rocked the girls' primary school record for the egg and spoon race after beating the current record by an impressive 43.7 seconds. It's been a dream I've had for 43 years, he told journalists. Did you
was it?
I tell you what, I used to take great pride in doing them when my kids were young, doing the sports day races. They were a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Anybody else do them?
Yes, we all had to do them.
Yeah, everybody
Very
did
good.
them.
Well done, lads. Well done. Paul Whitfield, thanks for this, especially for you. The Jason Donovan.
Excellent.
I love that. Really, really good. And everything in this picture is now in your pocket, lads.
That's true.
Cheers.
Brilliant, that. And today's generation goes out at night and calls in sick to work the next day. Our generation went clubbing, got home at 5 o'clock, slept for an hour, showed up to work in the same clothes and a hand stamp. Very true. Dad jokes, he has one. My dad told me his password is Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Pluto, Huey, Louis, Dewey, Dublin, because he was told his password had to contain 8 characters and at least 1 capital.
Oh.
In customer concern of a whistling noise when in motion. I'm no tech, but it could be very well that your friend zip-tied a harmonica to the underside of your truck broke.
Brilliant.
That's excellent, isn't it? I think I'm losing my mind. That's because you've given me a piece of it every day since we got married.
Wow.
And Gary, thanks for this one. My girlfriend wanted a sponge cake. I'm still not sure what the problem was.
Oh, crazy.
Set me teeth right on edge when I saw that. Local man addicted to brake fluid says he can stop anytime he wants. And the all day breakfast at M&S is served till 11:30 a.m. lads.
Oh, dear me.
There's a shame.
It's a classic. My BMX brakes in the 1980s.
Jared's.
All been there. And Bernard, dehydrated water. Empty contents of can into 1 gallon of water and stir until dissolved. Chill and serve. Actually looks like a real tin, that, by the way. Of finally fixed the annoying sound in my car.
Very clever.
And that Stormtrooper is really into it. I love that. It does look like he's having a bit of a boogie, doesn't it? Meanwhile, at Chelsea, the lion from Chelsea's logo has left the club. He's had enough. And give me your money. I'm a politician. Then give me my money.
That's true.
And the greatest toilet paper holder ever, lads.
That is class.
I'd like one of them. I'd like one of them, Gary. I'd like one of them. 3 humans trying to unlock a car to get the keys out. Mind you, there is plastic taped over the back window.
Dear me. Oh.
Did you bring the Westminster Shosh? I beg your pardon. The Worcestershire. Are you having a stroke? Yeah, I think we've all struggled pronouncing Worcestershire. Yeah, you know what I mean. Liam Perrins, lads. I did pick this up at on Sky the other week as well. This was brilliant. This was at the Brentford match on Sky. These two at the match. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
The last dressed as a bee and he's dressed as a beekeeper. Absolutely brilliant. He's trying to look at his mobile as well. That was brilliant. Another Star Wars one with the eclipse having just happened. Eclipse conspiracy theory 3753. That's no moon. Brilliant, Jimmy. Thanks for that, mate. And another one from Jimmy. Check out Guitar George. He knows all the codes.
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Yeah, happy birthday to me, mate. Hope you had a good one, pal. And that's Meep in the corner.
Oh,
Thank you. A couple of singing ones there. And J-Lo looks like she ran out of toilet paper and is waddling out of the bathroom to get more with her latest fashion. I had to look twice at that, Jimmy, before, because obviously I've got to be very careful what I put on here, trigger warnings and all that going out these days. But yeah, it did look like her pants around her ankles, Jimmy. I thought she'd been on a night out down in Baker. And tweet of the week that won't make the cut, he says. It did. Dick's Pizza. You haven't eaten pizza until you've eaten Dick's.
Oh dear.
And nothing slaps you in the mouth quite as hard as Uncle Dave's sausage.
Jesus.
Look at the price.
I know, that's the price that shocked me as well. My friend has designed an invisible aeroplane. I just can't see it taking off.
Oh, dear me.
Dear me.
And delicious breakfast with herbs, said Monster King. Look like you've left the window open while he was cutting the grass.
Cutting the grass.
It does.
Coming up to the last few. Sometimes you just got to pick yourself up and carry on.
Very
Clever.
Very clever, that one. And Pikachu foreskins available. Anyone had one?
What on earth?
I've never had one, lads. And I've got to be honest, after I've seen that picture, I don't think I'll ever have one. But they are a real item. 5 to 7 large, apparently. Large Pikachu foreskins. So what they are, God knows. Funeral this week, lads. Very sad. Farewell, Doris Miller. Wife, mother, magician's assistant. And eating dinner after driving an electric vehicle. And rare photo of a shark stepping on Lego.
Good, Spenny.
Brilliant, that's Spenny. That was number 3. Number 2, I bloody love Jamie Oliver. Keep cooking and carry on, because he says you can substitute ingredients for ones you do have in the cupboard. I made this aubergine curry dal with herby flatbreads tonight. That's definitely us, isn't it, lads? Definitely us. Okay, yeah, we're coming up to the last couple. Yeah, this one. After the success of the Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow, Joe Heenan is opening up Jurassic Park Land. Experience the thrill and excitement of Steven Spielberg's masterpiece for only £35 a ticket. I love that. And the banana that lived. Brilliant. You see the Harry Potter sign on it?
Yeah.
Very good.
Z-I.
And the final one, the winner this week from Gary, he sent us that many this week. He had to win it. They didn't think this water fountain through. That's tweet of the week. Thank you very much, everybody who sent them in. Some great ones there from a lot of people who send them in on a regular basis. Too many to mention. Keep them coming. Send them to the usual places. Don't forget, we've got a Facebook group and a Facebook page. Like the page, join the group. And if you're not on Facebook, you can catch us on Twitter. Or if you're really desperate to get us in, get it in, send it to John at nufcmatters.com. Season ticket prices. It's not tickets per se, but it is tickets per se, if you know what I mean. So we're not getting into an angry exchange about tickets, which will drag on and on. So don't worry, those of you who can't stand ticket talk. But it's an announcement that's come from the club today. And it basically was stated as such. Newcastle United can announce that the renewal process for 24-25 season tickets will open on Tuesday, the 23rd of April. Supporters will be able to renew their existing season tickets until 5 o'clock on Monday, the 20th of May. Season ticket holders who renew their ticket will also be able to enrol in soon-to-be-confirmed cup schemes. The club's once again frozen prices for all junior categories, while thousands of supporters will continue to pay prices set during the 2011-2012 season as part of a long-term price freeze deal. It's the last year on that this year, I believe. I'm on that. Prices for all remaining season ticket categories will rise by 5%, ensuring a blended average rise of price of 3.3% across St James's Park. The clubs continue to invest in enhancing the matchday experience at St James's Park, including adding licensed standing, improved concourses, new digital services, and an exciting new fan zone, the St James's Stack, presented by Seller, which is set to open this summer. Work to enhance stadium connectivity will also commence soon. That's the internet, for those of you who might not have known that. And the club has also commissioned an ongoing comprehensive feasibility study with a leading global agency to explore what is possible in terms of expanding and enhancing the stadium in future. Renewing your season ticket. The renewal process for existing season ticket holders will open at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 23rd of April, and renewals should be completed online, and there'll be a link there on the website for you. The deadline is May the 20th, which is a Monday. For those wishing to pay by monthly direct debit, this will allow the first payment to be taken on Wednesday, the 5th of June, to allow for payment over 9 months. So, it's an interesting price rise. It seems to be in line with most other football clubs, and you know that accentuating the positives that they've created. In the 2 years that they've been here, Mitch, I don't think there's a great deal to complain about. It's the price of football. I think there'll be more hands in the air. Maybe after the reveal, if there's any more corporate areas to be opened, and next year, when the 10-year deal finishes and, those certain areas are, then having to pay the full whack, it'll be interesting to see what happens then. But for the moment, I don't think there's too much to moan about or complain about, Mitch.
I think that will be the more interesting time, as you will, to see the whites of people's eyes about what they want to do with prices of tickets. I think it makes our average ticket price for a Premier League game £38, which is, in the grand scheme of things, still not a massive amount when you think of what some places charge for a Premier League game. But I can also see the argument that says this isn't the 1980s. Ticket revenue isn't 60 to 70% of what keeps the club going. I think we were 14% last year in the last set of accounts. So anybody championing a pay rise of any kind and saying that we're contributing to the FFP scenario, I would suggest think again. A rise of this 5% within that's not really contributing that much, but the club could equally come around and say, yeah, we want fans to understand that they do contribute to this, and therefore we need to find a way to balance the books, and so we feel a rise is appropriate. And the counter to NUST's letter to the club regarding this today, for example, would be, well, it's not a massive rise, and everybody understands we're pulling in the same direction to make things bigger and better, and we would like to, let certain fans feel that they're contributing in a certain way, but we understand that any rise shouldn't be astronomical. I do think it's the price rises once all the 10-year deals are gone and the gloves come off. That might be more of a thing. We also still have this situation with memberships and ballots and not really knowing how many tickets are available game by game. Are we going to see some more of these numbers disappear and tickets suddenly just come off the market altogether for different corporate experiences, shall we say? That's all the more things to be concerned about, I personally would say. Any price rise when the UK economy is as it is and cost of living is as it is, when we understand that cash over the turnstiles is not the cash cow it used to be, will always come across a little bit as tone deaf. Seeing how the Liverpool supporters have reacted to Liverpool's price rise, for example, it's the classic situation whereby clubs whose heartbeat and soul have been working class families, and as everybody's going through into we've heard the same way, man. We've heard the same. That when when that's the core of your fan base, and you're still doing price rises during a cost of living crisis, it's very difficult to justify it for any club. We're no different to that. I think the thing that surprised me has been the reaction of many fans now, where genuinely you're seeing people, oh, well, if you're not prepared to pay it, I'll have it. And I don't remember that being the mindset a while ago. That's something quite new to me, and maybe we found another way to have a little bit more infighting and divide. Who knows? Because we're very good at that. But it doesn't help. So I can see both sides of it. And I think they could have raised the prices significantly more than they have. So, again, let's try and keep on the positives, I suppose.
Yeah, why man, we had heard this story ourselves. So yeah, you're not making it up, mate. I think that's why we've alluded to potential areas being redeveloped over the course of the next season, and more people being displaced because they simply can't afford it. That's progress, I guess, but it's also the gentrification of the support, and the sooner that they expand the stadium so that they can displace people into cheaper seats, the better for me. Because I think there'll be a lot of people who just won't be able to afford to go. But yeah, Steve, the season ticket prices, I don't think there's too much to complain about in price. That's my opinion anyway.
I disagree on that one, Steve. I think that there was no need for a ticket price increase. I think they could have waited, if necessary, until there was that equilibrium and that balance with the ending of the 10-year scheme. I think they could have waited another year. I think that the way that the system operates is that it's only 5 years ago that clubs were saying that with so much TV money coming in, they could actually give everyone access into the ground for a fiver. COVID came, all of that seems to have been forgotten about. The Premier League's turned everything on its head. It's got bigger and bigger in terms of TV money, overseas TV money, the broadcasting rights, the international broadcasting rights, you name it. And now Darren Eales is saying that it's this 5.5% interest increase has been thought through. I think he's implying that across the board it's actually only 3.3 for a lot of fans. When you take into account some of the adjustments that they've managed to find. And he said it's to help give us a much better fan experience. Well, there's no cash allowed in the ground. That's a great experience now for many people, isn't it? We've got constant queues to get in, problems with e-tickets. We've got the forcible club ticket exchange system that they've never really explained. There's the Poor Club website. The website, if you want to try and get involved as a member or as a supporter to make the most minutest of changes to your account, there's certain things you just physically can't do. You can't change your email address, for example. Believe it or not, you can do lots of other things. You can't change your email address. So if you're changing jobs and getting a new email, where does your email go to, and that type of thing, if that's the way that you've been set up. We have a membership scheme that gives very little, if anything, in terms of an opportunity for a ticket. And as somebody just said, I know someone who's got through their family 11 memberships, and they're lucky if they manage to get one ticket every 2 or 3 games out of all the 11. We've got the poor e-box office experience. We've got the manufactured, because that's the only way I can describe it, the manufactured interaction that we have with supporter services for when they have their meetings. it's basically get a load of people in, sit them around a table in groups of 10, take a load of notes, and then say thank you, and everybody goes, "Isn't it wonderful? I've had a cup of coffee and some biscuits." There's the poor way that they set up the fans advisory board. That was wonderful, wasn't it? We've got the shocking ticket and partnership schemes that we have, where when you do send a ticket back, it then goes back on the market at treble the price. And then the way that they've created this absolutely farcical situation with away fans, with Georgia's ballot, which isn't a ballot, with the fact that they can send you a ticket that doesn't really isn't live, that makes you walking through the away fans. Yeah, thanks, Darren. That's wonderful fan experience for it, and now we're paying an extra 5.5% for that. So there's lots of things they could do to put right that they're not doing. There's lots of things that they're hearing about but not reacting to. There are lots of people who say that they speak to the club, and I will question whether any of them have ever gained a positive response from any of the major issues that they might have brought forward.
Do you think it's a bit like the whale? You know, when they say they speak to the club, do you think it's like the Wailing Wall? They stand outside the back of the Gallagher and just talk to the wall.
The letterbox at the ticket office when it's 5:05 and they've shut early. Hey, what about me ticket? You know. So I mean, and you know, I looked at the trust's letter and I thought, well done. It's the first thing that I've seen in a long time that I actually agreed with. But I think I could have written down on the day what the response would have been. And I think if I had written it down, I'd be reading out Darren Neal's statement, to be perfectly honest. You know, because it was just plain on the nose on your face that it wasn't going to get past line one. You know, it's a case of, thanks very much, lads. Okay, move on. Because that's the way that they're being treated. But they do it in a nice, smiley way. It's all nice and it's all pleasant and it's full Kenny Everett, isn't it? It's all done in the best possible taste.
Steve doesn't seem very happy, George.
Well, I'm not surprised because no guests that will sit together at the match, because I'm going to just say, here, Steve. And some of it's even worse. Look, I'm going to get on me high horse, on me soapbox again. It is not a ballot. Once you use words like that, I've got a good example. My neighbour next door is a church warden in a local church in Wallsend. She came in to get me to sign a registration certificate so the church could have a bloody raffle, and had to have a legal magistrate signed certificate to have a raffle, because they call it a raffle. Because there's something happening and something being given out. If you call it a ballot, lots more has to happen. And Newcastle United, in my mind, don't even start that. And what makes it worse is there's now all this stuff about what actually happens to the tickets at the end when the so-called ballot's done, because nobody seems to know. If it was a ballot, you'd know everything. You legally have to know everything if it's a ballot. It's not an if or maybe. It's a definite. You've got to put. It's publishing what goes in and publishing what comes out and publishing who's got it. And all the people in there that's saying, well, we've been in 10, 12 ballots and we've never had a ticket. You could say that's random, but I'm sorry, it smells like something far worse than that. The away ticket scenario, they suddenly invented a system where they turned supporters like us into criminals almost to get a few tickets. We're not talking about thousands, sorted out for away games. They actually invent dud tickets, so people have to go to the ticket office at the ground where they are, sometimes risking their lives to go through all the home fans and stand in a queue. And that's called entrapment, folks. And it went out of a legal system in the 1970s. But that's what it is. You're setting up people to fail. You're not allowed to do that, folks. And I wish somebody would take Newcastle to task about that, because it isn't good. It's not good for supporters. Suddenly, at some away matches, we're seeing empty seats. Why we're seeing empty seats? Because the supporters were sorting the tickets out with their mates, their brothers, their uncles, their granddads, and getting the tickets sorted, and everybody got in. There was no hassle. As soon as they started inventing this entrapment business and all the other stuff, tickets just went missing. And as you rightly said, Steve, end up going onto a website at 3 times what they're worth, or what their face value is. That's just nonsense. And it's, as much as I applaud and do everything I possibly could to support this takeover, this is one area, an area of fans nurture, fans caring, fans looking after. We just haven't got it right, and they certainly haven't got it right. I have a view about it. Why haven't I got it right? Because the people that operate it are still Mike Ashley's people. That's my view. That's part of the problem. But some of it is just awful. I've got to say, hand on heart, I've got to be honest and say how the ticket office have dealt with me, with us having that period of being blind and still not having very good eyes, has been great. But I still think that allows me to defend my other supporter colleagues and saying that what they're experiencing just isn't right. It's not just not nice, it's just not right, in my view. And the quicker somebody has a dig at trying to sort that out, the better. Because it's doesn't it get up your nose that one of the best supported teams in the country can sometimes have empty seats in the way end because of the way the clubs treated the away fans? That's just a nonsense. It's just balmy. Please sort it out, somebody, if you're watching, because it needs sorting out. As to the price rise, which is where we started with this, I think it's very fair. The last match, Stephen, I was with Steve, and I was talking to some of the I'm not going to say who it was, some of the officials in the ground were indicating and said to me, "You're renewing," and all that sort of thing. Some of the numbers they were coming out with were just, pie in the sky for me. I could see my season ticket going out the window, not being able to afford it. But suddenly, we've got the real news, and it's quite good. We can't complain about that. And remember, also, I've lived through the years when only ticket money was the only money that was going into the ground. And every year that we had a profit, especially in the late 40s, early 50s, and Seymour was the manager, stroke director, any profit we had, he used to buy players. He used to go out and buy the best players in the country. And in I think it was the 48-49 season, we had 40 professionals, senior professionals. And some of the names would love them today. You had England centre forwards like Roy Bentley, Albert Stubbins, Charlie Wayman, and in the background a big fella called Jackie Milburn starting to make his way. Centre forwards, 5, and that was Seymour investing in the club. Now, what we put into it is petty cash almost, not quite there, but we're getting there. And for me, that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Let's encourage the younger people and Spurs. Look at the Spurs, what they've done. Levy, one of the richest men in the country, decides all concessions gone. No kids, no pensioners, just big money. Well, you're welcome. If that's how you run your club, you're welcome to it. But look at the mess they're in as well. He can do that, and he's £1 billion in debt. His club's £1 billion in debt. Well, get the sums right, but get the attitude towards fans right, all over the place, and that includes our good friends at Newcastle United. I know that they're trying hardest, but try a bit harder, folks. The fans deserve it. The fans deserve it. They've put up with a lot in the last. You lads would say the last 14 years. I would say the last 40 years we've put up with a lot. So get some of it right, and it'll pay you back in the end. It'll pay you back in the end. That's for sure.
Couple of comments just before the ads. Peter Bell says, from £560 to £895 Cat 1 seat, it feels like I'm paying for the big fella's pay rise. With no trophies or European football, it could be adios NUFC, says Peter. Yeah, I mean, that's the way some people feel, you know, and that's what I'm saying. We will get priced, you know, some people will get priced out as well, you know. That's the problem.
I mean, I've been saying to you all, you know, that since I saw that posh video that we had at this was at the start of last year. It came out and it was looking at the future. It was looking at the future with prawn sandwich the people sitting in my seat. Yeah. That's what it was looking at for me. So I get that, and it's a pity it has to be that way. But yeah, he's right. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Could have been worse, though. We could have been born a Mackham. Nicholas says, I've had a letter from Sunderland offering me £400 to go next season. And Barry says, Sunderland raffle, first prize, 1 season ticket, second prize, 2 season ticket, third prize, a place on the bench.
It's not a ballot. It's a raffle.
It's not a ballot. Yeah, exactly. Okay, we are halfway through the show. That means we're time for the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Go to their website, skipsandbins.com. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Go to their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. Go to their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com or phone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. They're a local company from Morpeth and there are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button under the video. Click the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. If you want to help the channel financially, you can pay a one-off £25 fee. You get a cup, a scarf, a pen and a membership card and entry into the NUFC Matters monthly draw. Email john@nufcmatters.com for more details. Or if you've got a smartphone, scan the QR code now and it takes you straight to the membership pack. We also support the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you'll find the matchday bucket. You can make a donation virtually today. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify and other podcast providers. We also do events during the year. NUFC Matters Live will be at the O2 City Hall on Friday the 2nd of August for an evening with Rob Lee, one night in Antwerp. Tickets start at £15 and you can get them from Ticketmaster.co.uk. An evening with the entertainers takes place on Friday the 24th of January 2025 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle. Telephone 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk to buy tickets today. You can also catch me on the North East Footy Breakfast Show live on Toon Radio weekdays 7 till 9 a.m. on DAB, smart speakers and the toonuk.com. And tickets are flying out for the end of season due. Don't forget you can get along to see Ask George, Super Mac and Gibbo and the Long Sands in aid of Dementia Matters for a tenner. NewcastleLegends.com or nufcmatters.com. That's where you can buy your tickets for a tenner. 20th of July, 5 o'clock till late. Going to be a cracking night. And get yourself onto Wowcher for the tickets for Peter Beardsley, 2nd of June at the Irish Centre as well. Tickets are £19 on Wowcher for that. Last hour of the NUFC Matters auction as well. I'll stick the link in again. Don't miss out on some bargains. You'll be able to get a few decent items for very cheap prices on there. So jump on the auction, click the link in the chat tonight. And don't forget, I've got a Facebook group and page. Like the page and join the group if you want to leave us a message or join in with Tweet of the Week or Toon Lookalikes. Oh, there's been a spate of Steve Hasty lookalikes today. For a while. It's the first time we've had these, but David Cook, who's going to be watching the match live at St James's this weekend, says all the locals are queuing up for a hasty haircut.
It's just a dog, David.
Yes, but the dog's got a hasty haircut. That's what he's saying. He didn't say it was you. Getting the hasty train back on track. Look who's back. Albert.
Albert's back.
Albert. Now, I think
he's no better.
I think Albert might have started this actually because he stoked the embers which have been smouldering away. NUFC Geordie simply sent this of you, Steve.
Dear me.
A unicorn. You've never been compared to a unicorn before. And then NUFC Geordie went for the old style. Yeah, that's like the Steve Hasty just getting out of bed look.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Moore joined in. Toon Lookalikes. Steve Hasty with his jumper on.
Jimmy's on drugs, though, isn't he? Now he's 54.
Yeah, that's a Ben Jacobs jumper if ever I've seen one. And big thanks to Albert. He goes, he was talking to James, he'll not be happy. He says, you'll not be happy if these start again, Steve.
Right. Okay. Right.
Taking names again.
Okay. We're getting
Adeline Polo Grady on that one, I think.
Some woman called Corrine and E.T. Moving off the hasty lookalikes. Poor E.T. there. And Mike S., little known fact that Alan had a stint behind the drum kit with legendary prog rock giants Rush. Either that or was the highly talented Neil Peart.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, saw them a few times.
Good look like that. Rich Oliver doing karaoke in Thailand.
It's the only thing he hasn't done in Thailand, I think.
In Brotherhood of Man. It's pretty good, yeah. Pretty good.
Bad.
The two Rons. And George Peppard. And who was this other guy? I've screwed the name up there, Iceman. Sorry, mate. But we can see the lookalike. There is a resemblance, mate. But thank you for sending that in. It was difficult to piece that one together. Don't ask questions, just squint at the burgers.
God, aye.
Clever. I'm not sure who it is.
Really is clever. Oh, how weird, man. It's bloody Easter. Who could it be?
Well, it was Easter, but it could have been David Hasselhoff. That I mean, it just looks like a plate of burgers. But when you screw your eyes up, David,
screw your eyes up. It's JC, isn't it?
I thought it was
John. Yeah. Nothing like Jim. Looks nothing like John Carver. Gary Scott sent this one in. Somebody on here said Jeremy Allen White looks like Gene Wilder with a gym membership.
I can see that.
I suppose. Aye.
And he's gone a long way since Curry.
Oh, dear me.
Oh, me.
Thanks, Paul.
He's gone west. He's gone west.
I have often thought that comparison, mate, but I've never actually, put it up there. Stephen Kennedy, see Mr. Hasty's pulled another cracker.
Yeah, me, Stephen, man.
And Giovanni and Gary Wilmot. Very good, that, Tom.
Yeah.
Very good. And another one from Tom. Jake Gyllenhaal and Matthew Flamini. Not bad. This one's better, I think. From Jonathan Helm. Separated at birth, Pop and Dr. Fendelman. It's good because it's different. Now, we got a few complaints last week because people couldn't see this Gary Lineker one. So I've managed to get a better version from Tobus Gray. Lookalike when Gary Lineker was on Blockbusters.
That is crazy, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant, that one. Thank you for that. And Dopey and Up character. Tim sent this one in. I'm not sure of the youngin's name in our under 23s, but he does have a doppelganger. Very good, Tim. And Jimmy Moore sent this one. Shopping cartwheels be like. Now, I didn't quite get that, Jimmy, so I just thought it was another Steve Hasty lookalike, the guy in the bottom.
No, that's David Lee Roth, the first three from Van Halen.
Yeah. Right.
And is
that not Sammy Hagar?
Sammy Hagar, who took over from David Lee Roth as lead singer of Van Halen.
All right. Well, he looks very similar to you, Steve. Anyway, so
I think he's referring to the squeaky voice, isn't he?
I've stuck it in the lookalikes rather than the tweet of the week. So there we go. Alan McKenzie, Georgia President Andre Previn, and music maestro conductor Irakli Kobahides switched.
Switched. I tell you what, that's good. That
not bad. That one, not bad at all. And this one, Roy Carroll and Jamie Lannister from House of Dragon.
Yep, definitely.
From Tom. And the last one, Ian Dowie and Sloth from the Goonies. It's just that photograph, and I'm sure, Tom, you've sent that in a different way.
Even in the same colours, to be fair, though.
They are.
It's very good. Keep your lookalikes coming in. Send them to us at the usual place. Andy Davis says see more and pay less. Now it's see less and pay more. Jules says, next up, stadium expansion or new stadium. No, Jules. No. Gary, easy answer to this. Yes, we will be trying to get more sponsorship, but bear in mind the end of the tax year is upon us, and Newcastle will now be looking at the separate set of accounts to put more money into. And bearing in mind as well that we've also had some shares bought or a share bought for 37 million.
37 million, yeah.
What do you think the story behind that is, Mitch?
It's a very legal way to put money into the club. Aston Villa have put over 200 million in that way over the last 3 seasons. So when you get Liverpool fans or suggestion that something naughty's afoot, they're absolutely incorrect. They don't know how business works, and they don't certainly know how the business of football works. I think it's an interesting amount because it's around about the amount that people were saying we might be short on FFP. So that's an interesting angle to look at it. It further seems to dilute the Canterville share because it says it's put in 80-20, but I cannot see how Canterville, with other problems that they've been dealing with recently, you've got that kind of cash to contribute on an 80-20 split. So I presume it's 80% PIF and 20% the Rubens, and therefore it strengthens both their hands in terms of the split of the shares and weakens Canterville a little bit further. How that goes on playing forward, who knows? The Liverpool fans this week have fascinated me. That was one of their peaks, was to suggest that there was something, as Stu would tell you, we're on a UAE group which has got a mix of fans of all persuasions on, and both the red and blue Scouse fraternity were up in arms about this share and how it was, how it was playing against the rules until you showed them that Aston Villa put 100 million in last year that way. And there's the document, by the way, and then it shuts them up pretty quickly. But they've been yapping about all sorts recently. But it just loses focus on what it's all about. And what it's all about is putting money into the club in a very legal and proper way. They're not doing it in a way such that we could probably raise eyebrows in terms of people pulling what's happening with the money. You've got to be careful how you introduce that money from an FFP perspective. But there's certainly nothing dodgy going on there at all.
Few people asking us what Barry Hogan's going to look like at the do, because as most people know, a lot of people in the chat say Barry's often drunk on the show on a Monday night. So this is what Barry will look like.
Easy to spot.
Only joking, Barry. Barry for about 2 weeks didn't understand why everyone was saying he was mortal, when in fact it was me who'd been out on the red wine. Yes, Steve, 37 million £37 for one share was interesting, that wasn't it?
Yeah, one share, I remember as well. Yeah, I mean, I think Mitch has covered it very succinctly. It's just a very legal way of being able to put a little bit of money into the club. What it gets used for, it's up to the club now, but I suspect it's to see the club through the summer and to cover its backside for any untoward FFP charge that might have come their way. They'll probably not be the only club that'll do it. but let's face it, FFP is and profit and sustainability is all over the place at the moment. You've got that ridiculous situation with Everton and with Nottingham Forest, and you've got the Premier League scrapping around trying to pull figures out of the air, pull penalties out of the air. It's an absolute
Steve. I mean, when you've got someone like Kieran Maguire looking at what's gone on with Everton and Forest and putting a tweet out, basically declaring that it's all number one, we know where we're at.
Yeah,
that when someone like that is coming down the path that we've been on for the last few weeks, that behaviour, there's no pattern to it, there's no logic to it, there's nothing you can cling to that says that this equates to that. It almost is one of these random selection menus, which based on the day of the week, which wind is where the wind's blowing, what colour socks you're wearing, if what the first name and the middle name of the person making the appeal is, may or may not affect the points deduction and your ability to appeal that further. It's not that people are or aren't being punished, for me, is the problem. I was going to say lack of consistency. There's not any logic to it anymore.
That's the key. That's the key. You've got someone who can be fined, or where the suggestion could be that they need 12 points deducted. So then they give them a 10-point deduction, which is 1 point more than you would get if you'd gone into administration for going bust. You then find out that it gets reduced on appeal to 6, but then they dock 2 off for 4. And then Nottingham Forest come along and they go, well, it's 5, but then we're going to dock 2 off because you're nice, so we're going to make it 3. And then the second one comes along and it goes, we want 6. Well, we're going to make it 4. We've made it 4, but now what we're going to do is we're going to dock 2 off because you were nice as well. And you're going, where's the consistency? The only consistency is if you're nice, you gain 2 points less than you would have if you'd been nasty. And the whole situation, I think that I've spoken to a few Everton fans and listen to their dichotomy, and the very fact that it's worked on a 3-year cycle and they've been hit for year 3, which is in the previous year, it was the year 3 cycle that hit them, and now you then roll on to the next year and the same figures are being used again and they hit them again. And so that's where the inconsistency, and that's where their argument will lie. And we've also got the even more ridiculous situation that the powers that run the Premier League have now put us into a position where we might not know who gets relegated until a week later. So all of that jeopardy that we have on the final day with Sky TV, and there's just going to be caveats all over it potentially, because it's going to be Luton Town, you're relegated, but you might not be. Or hang on, no, Forest, you're relegated, but you might not be. And the same with Everton. Tough break on Sheffield, and tough break on Burnley, etc., etc. And so there's already asterisks all over the league, and now there's going to be caveats all over it because we're going to wait for 2 court cases to come through. And it's those people who haven't thought through the whole process at the beginning, and it's summed up. These are the same people who have got down and given very little thought to some of the penalties and some of the penalisation that they've put in place for Newcastle United simply because they don't like the idea of us being a sovereign run company.
This is why we are right to be wary of FFP, because what would they do with us? Would they automatically double any charge because we're assumed to be nasty and bad because we're a state-owned football club in inverted commas? We don't know what they would do with us. We've got no idea. We've got no guidelines because they've even gone against their own guidelines in explaining how they went against their own guidelines to take points off because people were nice.
Yeah,
because you're right. That there was some of those deductions because, well, they were very helpful. What, did they give you a cup of tea and biscuit when you went round and have a chat with them? Did they? Is that what it is? You're giving them 2 points less because they give you some bombs. Is that what it's all about? Because it might as well be, and we don't have a framework or a structure. And then I don't know if you've seen the breaking news this evening, that the EFL have got themselves wrapped in knots with Leicester, because it seems like they were wanting to be allowed to impose a sanction on them this season based on Premier League findings.
Yep.
And because they're a different competition, they can't. And so now there's lawyers being involved again. What an absolute farce.
And they're also chasing Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by the way, when you get relegated,
When you come in,
we're waiting for you, you know.
It's nonsense. But we're very right to be wary of it, because we've got absolutely all idea what would happen to it if we were chucked in front of that jury, because it just seems like an utter nonsense. It always seemed to have a twist on it, because the Premier League were so desperate to get everything to an independent commission, because they knew what they wanted to do, but they obviously weren't sure that their rules and regulations were robust enough to make that happen. You know, and again, some of what come out about Everton backs up what we were being told was they tried to make it go away by trying to help Everton as much as they could, give them massive COVID allowances, give them massive allowances for the loss of the Usmanov money, give them, you know, as much help as they possibly could. And the minute Everton basically decided to say, fuck that, we're going to submit what we want, they immediately broke off discussions and it went to the Independent Commission. So we knew there was something off then. But what the Independent Commission's done with the second ruling with Everton is make a mess of the first one. I would be totally in the camp of saying, right, fuck it, we've not had the greatest this season. Let's blow the lid off our FFP this season. Sign who the hell we want. It's going to be gone in a few years anyway. Let's take a points deduction if it's 6 next season, or this season even. Let's have it. Get it done with. But we know fine well, for us, we'd probably end up in Division 3. You know?
Well,
and that's the problem.
Sorry, go on.
Let's not forget, we've also got a situation where within that some of those findings, within some of the discussions that took place, we actually have the EPL board actually coming out and saying, and don't forget, there was also this change in the rule that were called the Newcastle rule.
Newcastle amendments.
Yeah, the Newcastle amendment. Now, if you wanted to say that you were being treated in a anti-competitive way, I'm sure just that statement alone would stand you in good stead when you stood in front of the beak.
Even if that's not their actual names.
Yeah.
If those amendments are colloquially known within football now as quote unquote the Newcastle amendments. What an absolute bollocks that is.
Well, and you know fine well, if we did it, they wouldn't just leave it at that. They'd go and write some new amendments to make sure that Newcastle got really and well and truly hurt. So, you know, it would never end as far as we're concerned if we decided to do it. So, yes, it's the fans have been a bit frustrated because of the clubs sort of put their carpet slippers on and treaded very carefully. How right they were. It could have been disastrous. But what the hell is it all to do with a football? You know, really and truly.
I tell you where it's coming from, George. This is the EPL trying to prove that they can manage their own league, right?
Yeah.
It's the threat of the independent commission coming in, the independent ombudsman. They're saying, look, we can do it. What a pig's year they've made of it. And the powers that be up in who are pushing for the independence aspect of it, they must be rubbing their hands with glee. So much so that the government announced within the white paper that, and by the way, Mr. Premier League, you do realise it's going to cost 80 million quid to introduce this football ombudsman, and we're going to send you the bill. So the Premier League are going to be billed because of the farcical way that they've gone about things and proven their mistrust of something that everybody's now looking at and going, but you cannot run your own tea up in a brewery, never mind running somebody else's. So now we're in this situation, and the clubs themselves are going to have to finance this football ombudsman because the government in their infinite wisdom, who have chosen to bring this legislation in place, have decided, oh, and by the way, the country's not paying for it, you are. And this is where they've boxed themselves into this massive hole. And the more that keep doing it, because it's I would predict that the Premier League will take the football ombudsman and the government to court to try and get rid of it, and certainly not to pay that £80 million fee. That'll be the farcical situation that'll come about, because if there are people in the Premier League, owners who are refusing to give money to the EFL, then there's no way they're going to stand for having to stump up £80 million, which is probably the amount of money that the EFL could have had anyway, for to just pay for the ombudsman.
Yeah, and anybody that's looking at all of this and seeing what the government's saying about independent in brackets, people can forget what that means. It doesn't mean what they all think it means, independent. I've worked over the years with the independent prison inspector, the independent police inspector, the independent probation inspector, the independent schools inspector. They all answer to a minister, and the minister writes the rules, and that's the rules to play by. Independent means absolutely nothing in government terms. It just means more control for them. And that the Premier League, for me, have allowed government to start meddling where they shouldn't actually be is nothing more than a mortal sin as far as I'm concerned, because it will not be independent. They will. The minister who's in charge of this person will write the rules, and they'll be told that's what you do. That's what the rules are, and they'll have to stick by it, otherwise lose their job. And it's an absolute nonsense. Can I come back to the 37 million share as well?
Yeah.
There's another side of it which interests me. I wonder if the Liverpool, Everton, and all the other green-eyed monsters out there looking at that 37 million are just waking up to the fact that they haven't got anybody in their club that could do that. They haven't got anybody there that could find that sort of money, could do that sort of thing. So they're the ones getting left behind by Newcastle United. Isn't that fantastic? Yes, he's right. Any government, he's absolutely right. I didn't make that clear. Do I sound left-wing on here? Wow, goodness, I'm surprised at that. Yeah, any government's right. But no, I'm serious. It may be that they're now waking up to the fact that all these fancy Americans sitting in their director's box, there's not one of them could find that sort of money to put into their club in the way that's been done at Newcastle United. And I think it's clever. It really is clever, very legal, and doesn't allow anybody, Premier League or anybody else, to be able to do anything about it, because it's within the law financially and every other way. And I think it's a good move, great move, good move. So that's, great. I mean, it couldn't be better. But I think it's the green-eyed monsters. Suddenly, they're waking up to the fact that they haven't got it. In fact, I'll venture a little bit further. I don't think the man at Manchester United could find that sort of money like that either. Ratcliffe.
Okay, this show really has flown over. We're only got half an hour left. I know, and lots still to talk about, including the match. So why don't we move on to the Spurs game, and we'll see whether we can get another question in beforehand. So as always, we have Tyne who will take us through his views to give us a little bit of a build-up.
Hello everyone, with a pick of the stats before the game against Tottenham Hotspur tomorrow. Here's my favorite one. The last time Newcastle scored more than 65 goals in their first 31 top flight games was back in season 1960-1961, when Newcastle gets relegated and Tottenham Hotspur actually are the champions. Going for tomorrow, we all remember last season when we destroyed Tottenham 6-1. If we win tomorrow, it will be the first time we register consecutive wins against them since 2008. Back then, we won 4 in a row. Newcastle have scored in each of their home games this season, 16 in a row. The last time we did something similar was back in 2002-2003, until August, when we scored in 18 consecutive home games. Tottenham on their own have scored in each of their last 17 away games to Newcastle at St. James's Park, which is their longest such run in their entire league history. When it comes to players, Alexander Isak has scored the last 5 games, home games in a row in which he played in. The record is held by a certain Alan Shearer, who scored in 15 consecutive home games back in 96-97. The main man for Tottenham Hotspur once again this season is Heung-min Son. He has 24 goal involvements in 25 league games, and he has scored 15 and assisted for 9. One more assist, and it will be his 3rd season for Tottenham, where he registers double-digit number of goals and assists, among very few players to have done this in the Premier League. Tottenham started very strong their away form this season, winning 4 of their first 6, but they have only won 2 of their last 9 in the Premier League. It's all set for a great game tomorrow at St. James's Park. We win and we should be back in Europe. Away the lads.
Okay, bold statement there from Andre. Certainly, Newcastle kick off 12:30 tomorrow. It is live on TNT Sports, and the last goalkeeper to keep a Premier League clean sheet against Spurs, incidentally, at St James's Park, was Shea Given way back in 2003. So Spurs have scored in their last 17 visits to St James's Park. Team news: well, Eddie Howe revealed that Lewis Hall hasn't trained all week since playing against Fulham, and was a slight concern. So we'll probably see him start at left back tomorrow. Howe also confirmed Joe Willock won't feature. He also mentioned that Tino Livramento wasn't anywhere close, but he is rated the soonest to be back in contention, which means that we'll be out without Pope, Almiron, Target, Lascelles, Tonali, Joelinton, Botman, Miley, and Trippier. He did say there was 3 to 4 players who were a bit closer though than some of the others. So potentially we will have before the end of this month a few more players back. As for Tottenham, Sessegnon and Solomon are both injured. Fraser Foster is out. Richarlison hasn't recovered quickly enough to make the squad for Saturday, which is good news. On the road this season, Ange Postecoglou's side have won 6 games. They've drawn 6 games and they've lost 3 games. They were at Wolves, Brighton and Fulham. 3 of the last 5 away games have ended in score draws, and they have scored at least once in all but 1 of their 15 Premier League games away from home. The referee, it's Tim Robinson. It's a quick return to St James's Park for the West Sussex referee. He was in charge of our 3-0 home win over Wolves. Before that, he was in charge of the 4-0 win at Palace against Palace, at St James's Park, and the 3-0 defeat at Everton. VAR is in operation, and Stuart Atwell is on VAR. So, look, we win this. It's a big step towards Europe. Doesn't look as if the Premier League is going to get that extra space, especially with the results in Europe last night. Interesting as well. I think in Scotland, I don't think they're going to get they've now got to play like a playoff game. I don't think they've got an automatic Champions League qualification spot. A bit of a blow for Celtic and Rangers, that. But yeah, Mitch, I've got a feeling this isn't going to be as much of a formality as last year's was, purely because we just haven't got availability on the bench. We've got a fairly strong team to start, but all intents and purposes, we're playing a different Tottenham this year, Mitch.
They are. I found them interesting this season. They've got a manager who I desperately want not to like, for no apparent reason. And yet, the more I hear him speak, the more I quite like the guy. He comes across as quite sensible and level-headed and honest. And I guess that's something you've got to respect in football these days. What I have noticed about what I've seen of Spurs this season, they're a bit like us under Pardew, that they can play really well, they can pick their wins up, but when they lose, they get thumped. It's not a narrow loss. When they lose games, they get their arses handed to them. And now, is that a mentality thing? Is it something that happens is this a hangover from the game against us last year? That once a team gets a couple up early, that's still in them a little bit. Don't know. But that's very much what they remind me of this year. Is us under Pardew. When they're good, but when they're bad, pretty damn awful. And there doesn't seem to be much of a pattern to it either. The loss at Fulham was quite a surprise generally. And yet when I saw it, they gave 3 very poor goals away. And from what I understand from Spurs supporting mates over here, it could have been 5 at half time. So I think this is something that fascinates us. Adds a little bit extra to the game. I think they've done very well in changing that style generally with Kane going, because they've had to. So I think we'll have a good game on my hands tomorrow. I think it could be a genuine back and forth. And in another one that we've got all the ability inside with, even with a limited amount of players available, to win if we play to form and put the effort in that I'm quite sure we will do, because we always seem to at the moment.
Have you got the dice?
I have a dice.
Very good.
And the magic dice says 1-1.
Which would be on par with the way Spurs are playing at the minute with their away game form as well. So 1-1. What about you, Mitch?
I'll take with the win by the odd goal in 3-2-1.
Okay, that's what I've gone for, 2-1. Okay, Steve?
They're a strange team. Mitch is dead right. They're a strange team, the way that they've performed this season. They're very gung-ho, aren't they? They're a full-on. You get a full-on Tottenham in terms of attacking prowess, where everybody piles forward. Remind me very much of Celtic when you see the way they played last season, obviously with the Postecoglou. But then I watched the Celtic Rangers derby, and I thought, you know what, that could have been Spurs playing Rangers. It was very much a just throw everything at it kind of attitude. And I agree about Postecoglou. I think the press must be sitting there waiting, panicking for those immortal words that will come out of his mouth. I'm not your mate, because every press conference he tells them, "Are you sure, mate? Are you sure, mate?" And I think they'll know that they're not on par with him when he starts saying they're not his mate. He's a character. He's very much a man's man. He's a bit like Eddie Jones, isn't he? The former England rugby manager, rugby union manager, coach. In that respect, he tells it as it is, and I think players like that. I think that's why the players have, I wouldn't say they've warmed to him. I think they've embraced his mentality, and that's why they're playing very well for him, and the results they're getting. They are a different kettle of fish to the one that we absolutely hammered last time, and I think that makes it for a very interesting game. But I see this as a 6-pointer. Very much so, because they're sitting there in 4th place. They've got 13 points ahead of us, but you look at who they've got to play, and if we beat them tomorrow and bring the deficit down, and then I don't know about you guys, but would you rather play Sheffield United, Brighton, Palace, Burnley, Man United and Brentford, or Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Burnley, Man City and Sheffield United? I know which 6 I would rather be playing in the run-in to the end of the season. And it's not the run-in that Spurs have. Great for their fans, great excitement. Pitting themselves at home against Arsenal, away at Chelsea, and away at Liverpool, and then home to Man City. Who would have believed that they would have been playing those fixtures towards the end of the season? Unless, of course, the supercomputer arranged it that way to keep the Premier League very much in the spotlight, if you like. But no, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game from us. We do have to play far, far better than we did in the first 30 minutes last weekend. That's for certain. If we go out with an attitude that we can just sit back, then they will absolutely pummel us. But I think if we go in with the attitude that we've displayed in other home games this season, and we can be buoyed by the fact that we'll have virtually the same 11 as last week. We've got Bruno hovering around waiting for a suspension, which, isn't it ironic? Again, Premier League rules. if he gets a booking, he's suspended for 2 games. But if he's going to get booked, take your shirt off as well and throw it on the ground and take another booking, and then you'll only have the 1 game that you have to miss. That's the farcical situation again that the Premier League have created within their rules. I mean, who would trust these people? I'm looking forward to the game. I think we're looking at probably a good goal-scoring game. I'll be disappointed if it ends up 0-0. I think there will be goals, and I think we could come out on the best of 5. I think a 3-2 win. I think it'll be something of that nature. I think it could be that exciting, and I think we could have a barnstorming finish like we did against West Ham in our previous home game, Steve. Or previous Saturday home game, anyway. 12:30 kickoff. Ridiculous time, by the way.
Yeah, we'll get used to those, though, don't we? Okay, George, what's your views on this game tomorrow?
Well, the lads are right. It Spurs are on the metal. They're always going to be hard to meet. But just occasionally, and they've shown it in 1 or 2 games, they just fall apart. They're just as though they didn't turn up. And, well, that's the Spurs we want tomorrow. In our front line, even with all the injuries, there's enough skill and speed to frighten the back 5 to death. And that's how we'll win the match, by defending from the front, by putting pressure on their back 5, because they don't like the press, and that's how the teams that have hit them hard have beat them the way they have. So that's how I see it going, and I'm right on side with Steve, and 3-2 is right in my mind as well. So I'm for a 3-2 as well. The manager, well, I'm very, very intrigued by him, because I couldn't make what to make of him when he was in Scotland, but the more I see and hear him on TV here, he's great. I mean, one post-match conference I listened to, and one of the journalists tried to get a bit cocky with him, and he said, "Oh, you might even get 4th place, Ange." And his response was, "Why? Are they giving medals for 4th place now?" And then the journalist didn't know what the hell to say, and that's lovely. I like that quick thinking, and he's a typical dry Australian. So no, they did well signing that guy, I think. So 3-2, and I think it'll be a ding dong of a match.
Okay, Newcastle are victorious in the initial stage of court proceedings against Sports Direct. Mike Ashley's retailer fails to secure the injunction ordering club to supply them with next season's Adidas kit. So a bit of a sore head for Mike Ashley without a drink, which is pleasant news to us all. Okay, I'm going to go for 2-1. As I said earlier in that match, we will of course be on the fans forum, and the professionals on Sunday, of course, is slightly earlier, 10 o'clock. Discussing that. We do have a couple of other things to get through, though, before we depart. And here is that lovely music. The day I met Andy Ambleton, thanks for this. He says, "Hope you're well, mate. Caught up with this baller at King's Cross." So he sent it in for the day I met. Come on, you muggies. Joe Willock there at King's Cross with Andy Ambleton. Thanks for that, mate. If you've got a day I met, if you've met somebody from Newcastle United, past or present, stick it on our Facebook group or page, or send it to us on Twitter, and we will play it. And of course, it gives us the opportunity to play that lovely music, which I know some of you love and some of you hate. And a big thanks to everybody out there. The latest figures came in this week from YouTube. We got another 76 subscribers, and we had 3 million minutes watched and 214,000 total views. So thanks to everybody who has taken the time to follow NUFC Matters over the course of the last month. And welcome to all the new subscribers. And thanks to those of you who've joined the channel using the YouTube joining button as well. And I did get a message. I'll read part of it out because it is quite long, from Stephen Kennedy. He says, NUFC Matters, streets ahead of the rest, and all without resorting to sensationalism. Just good, honest opinions from honest and loyal fans of the club. A great and varied daily output covering all aspects of the tune, from nostalgia with George to views from overseas fans. Great special guests from journos to old heroes, and of course previews and reviews of our matches, all given from the hearts of our fans. The questions received on this channel show on the whole what an intelligent fan base we have, and of course the channel has the right caliber of guests to give honest, from the heart answers to those questions, even though sometimes the answers given are not what you want to hear. Steve says it's all about opinions, and there's no better NUFC based podcast that gives you the stage to ask and receive and air your opinions. And finally, there's also no better place to get your NUFC laughs with fun content, fun presenters, and funny contributions from its followers. Keep up the good work, everyone. And remember, life as a mag has its ups and downs, but there's no better place to escape for an hour or two a day than NUFC Matters. It keeps me sane. Thanks once again, Steve, and everyone behind the scenes and all the regular contributors. You're all a part of something special, hence the great viewing figures. Thank you very much, Stephen Kennedy. Means a lot.
Thank
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Thank you for taking the time to sit and write that. It does make a lot, and lots of people agreeing in the chat as well. Speaking of guests, where's Melly these days? I was with him last night, actually. He's buried his head in the sand a little bit, hasn't he? He's busy doing his own podcast, and it's very difficult for him to do his and then to jump on ours. It's I will get him back on before the end of the season, though. Top work, Lads Matters is the best channel on the NUFC platform for me, and I promise to swear less, says Ian. Best tune channel, well said, says Doug. 100% agree, Steve Wraith, says Les. NUFC Matters, best watch on YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody. Very kind. Okay, well, I've got 10 minutes left, so I will see if we can get another couple of things in before we finish. Interesting one from Barry. He wants to say good luck to the lasses at the weekend, and we have discussed the girls on here over the last couple of weeks. Good luck to them. He says, how are the lasses for Sunday? Let's bring the trophy home and show the lads how it's done. So, yeah, good luck to them. Tom, could we see Alex Murphy, who can play left back and left centre back? I mean, nothing given away about whether we'd see Alex Murphy. Lots of people obviously concerned that Lewis Hall might miss out tomorrow, and lots of people concerned that he might move Burn back to left back and then maybe play Dummett at centre half. But Lewis Hall hasn't been ruled out completely yet. But would you like to see maybe Murphy given a chance, or is this a bit of a difficult baptism against Spurs?
Would be a difficult baptism. I think it's one. That said, did he look terribly out of place in pre-season?
No, he didn't.
Not really. Did he look like he was on a par with Anderson and Maley? I would say he looked ahead of Maley, and he looked on a par with Anderson. So I would be very happy to trust him slotting in there. I understand why he used Dummett against Everton, and it didn't work as according to plan. I could also understand why he would go to Dummett as the experienced player. And if he does, I would urge everybody, put Everton behind, get behind him. New game, new day, new start. If he crosses the line and he's in the first team, so be it. He was very careful how he answered the Lewis Hall question, though. So it really wouldn't surprise me to see Hall play tomorrow. Personally, the difficulty with bringing either Dummett or Murphy in and saying, right, let's put them at centre back, is it's two changes. You're moving Burn back out to left back, And I think whatever we do, we've got to keep Byrne at centre-back. And so for me, because he's probably got better pace, and would be to go with Murphy at left-back. There is another option, and that would be to bring wherever Murphy to right-back and Kraft across to left-back. But that's me being deliberately
provocative.
Provocative, yes, that's the word. That's a very good word. But I think the fact he was so cautious about the answer with Hall, I suspect we'll see Hall.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine Hall might get a run out tomorrow. Yeah, Steve Murphy, though, you know, Harrison, people are talking about Harrison as well, but it's a defensive player we need. And do you think we'll see Dummett tomorrow, or do you think we'll see Hall or Murphy?
I think we're more likely to see Hall than we are to see Dummett. I think moving Byrne back to left back would be a retrograde step. Bearing in mind that I don't think necessarily that Shaw looks comfortable with Byrne, but I'm sure he'd be less comfortable with Dummett. And I think I've noticed the body language of Shaw over recent weeks, and I find that he does show an element of laissez-faire, can't get into the game at times. Body language, which is strange, but he's the one who's getting shuffled about in terms of playing on the right side or the left side of the back four, of the central two. Another option, Mitch, could be that he goes with three at the back. He could go with Kraft, Byrne, and Shaw, and he could try and slot people in midfield. Bearing in mind they play two deep holding midfielders, they play a steady back four, two deep holding midfielders. Then they string two wide men and they stick Madison in the hole, and then they play Son up front. So there's every possibility that we could do something like that, and we could go three at the back. That's an option. Having said that, it's not the sort of thing that Eddie goes for. He is very much a 4-3-3 man. And in that respect, I think that if Hall isn't fit, then Murphy coming in would be a better fit than shuffling the back four again.
Okay, George, your views on the left back situation tomorrow. If Hall is injured, would you like to see the young lad come in?
Yes, and I wouldn't want to move Byrne. Dan Byrne has proved in the last few games he's been at centre back that's where he is. And the notion to bring Dummett in, who's a natural left back, the centre back, to push Byrne out to left back, that just makes nonsense to me. Dummett played how many seasons as our left back? And I've got to say, very creditably. He was always a 7 out of 10 for me when he was at left back in the team, naturally. So it would be nonsense to shift Byrne, to put Dummett in there and shift Byrne out again. I'm with you, Steve. I think that you might well see Hall start, and towards the end of the game, he replaced by Dummett. But if there's going to be a change, why not give the kid a chance? I mean, you know, we've had lots of fantastic young players who've made debuts like this one would be, and have gone on to be great stars. Everything that I hear and see, the little bits on TV about this lad, is there is a star in the making. Well, let's give him his chance. Let's give him his chance. And, you know, it is the disaster if it doesn't work in the first half. It can change him then. But I'd be inclined to give him a chance to let him stretch his legs in the first team in that way. And Steve's right. He's got the pace that Dan Byrne doesn't have. So no, I hopefully would like to see Hall in if it's possible, and take it from there. But not mess about in the middle again. We've seemed to have settled the middle quite nicely, and I thought. And the other thing I noticed is, of course, Dan Byrne's exerting himself as captain. He's really been telling people what to do, which he did very nicely in the pre-season when he was manoeuvring young Murphy and other 3 young defenders at the back when he had to. I think was it in Saudi Arabia when he was marshalling the defence then, and Dan Burn was doing that quite nicely. So yeah, give young Murphy a try. I'd like to see him. Otherwise, Hall will play.
Okay, hit the share button, guys. We don't ask you to do it a great deal, but if you're new to this, if you hit the share button, share it to your social media like Twitter and Facebook, or just copy the link and stick it in your WhatsApp group and send it around. We'd like to get to 52,000 subs before the end of this year if we can. So please do that, and it just helps spread the word of NUFC Matters. Okay, we'll finish off with Elliot. I used to date the woman who did the voice for the speaking clock, but now she won't give me the time of day, says Elliot.
Oh, God.
No.
Excellent stuff. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks to you for watching. And thanks to George. Thanks to Steve. And thanks to Mitch for joining me again on Friday night. Enjoy the game. I will be back tomorrow with George, 6 o'clock. For those were the days.
Soon, Emily.
And so 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Those were the days with me and George. And then Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, live with the professionals. And then the fans forum, 6 o'clock on Monday. Take care, guys.
All the best.
Yes, everyone.
See you, Steve.
Take care, mate.